Hey, good morning, everybody. All right, so hey, I'm Sam McGahee. I'm with Country Financial Insurance. I own the agency here on Prince Avenue, also in Athens, JC. Super excited to have you all here. Super excited for Andy Thoms. Look, we want to start off by having a little fun today. This is a great event. Chad and them have worked really hard to get great speakers here. I was a part of this last year, and to see it grow into what it is today, it's really, really cool. I am a business owner myself too, so I'm always looking for ways to make my business better. Always looking for ways to build my team. I think you're going to find that here today. Always looking for ways to market better. Signs are great, but marketing has changed so much in this world. As we all know, it seems like it changes daily. So trying to find those avenues that really work for your business is so important right now. But before we do that, all right, if you're in your chair, which I hope you are, look, feel underneath your chair, left or right side. If there's a business card of mine under your chair, feel a little metal frame, you should find one. Raise your hand if you found it. There you are. All right, so you want a Country Financial cooler? A little brewski? Yeah. All right. Good deal. You don't want to hear all that. All right, so hey, can you hear me if I talk like this too? All right, I can't do mine well. So here's the deal. Also, there's a sheet of paper in front of you. Sometime before you leave, fill out that paper. We're going to put that into a drawing as well for those two big tailgate coolers out there. They're full of everything you could want more. Perfect timing for tomorrow. Enjoy it at the house, or if you're heading to Auburn, that's great too. But like I said, we really appreciate everything. If I can ever help with anything, we specialize in auto, home, and business insurance, life insurance as well, and financial planning. We are local. We really try to take care of our folks. A lot of people ask you what makes you different than everybody else. We're not the cheapest in town, so don't call me if you're looking to be the cheapest in town. What we are is we're the best at advising you and what's right for your situation. First question we ask people is what's important to you. How many times has your agent asked you that? Right? So we hope you'll come to us. Hope you'll ask us about that. I want to talk to you a little bit about Andy, who's going to speak. So Andy is a gifted networker and entrepreneur. He brings strategic leadership and business development to the team at See.Spark.Go, which he co-founded with his wife, Brittany, in 2007. His entrepreneurial spirit has led him to establish several of his own businesses and assist in several startup nonprofits, laying the groundwork for organizational growth. Andy's passion in life is seeing others reach their God-given potential. You can regularly find him in Athens coaching sports with their two sons, Carson and Callan. And I want to say, too, I just met him for the first time 2 minutes ago. I was like, I can't introduce you if I don't know who you are. So I met him, and I can already tell he's just got that, like, infectious personality that you want to be around. I can tell in literally 30 seconds of talking with you. So excited. Let's give him a round of applause.
Well, guys, I'm super glad everyone is here today. I was told I can't leave behind this, so forgive me, because if it was up to me, I would be out there and we'd have like a conversation, because that's just who I am, and I'm sure there's lots of people in this room who have done these speeches before, and you're always like, I just want to talk to everyone, so I'm going to go to here. Can you hear me if I do that still? Okay, and I may go to here. This is what I was told I can do, so I think we're all good on that. But before we get started, I want to ask them, what is one big idea that you guys, someone would like to share from that you've gotten from the big group so far? Like, what's something that's like a takeaway that you wouldn't mind sharing so far? Is there anything out there right now that you're thinking of? I'd love to hear it from you guys. Don't be shy, because I'm going to ask some questions. The what now? Be accountable. Thank you, Kara. You helped me out there. Be accountable. What's another one? What's a big idea? Another one besides be accountable. Believe in yourself. I love that one, and I actually did not give her the softball to say that, but that actually sets this talk up like perfect. You guys, we're going to be talking about marketing today, and when you're doing this, when you talk about marketing, every time you have this conversation with individuals, you're going to get 1,000 different answers, if I'm going to be honest with you. You will hear so many different things. So I'm going to ask another question. How many of you guys in here are a president or a CFO or a CEO or on that C-suite level? We have some in here? Yes, we do. Perfect. So when I talk about marketing, depending on where you're sitting in the room, your first question is, what's my ROI on that? You're going to be asking that a lot. Like, hey, I got this incredible team. I want to know my ROI. You're going to be asking that all the time. That's a great lens to look through. It's fantastic. How many of you guys are on the creative side of marketing where you actually do the creation, you're thinking of it? We got some over here. Anybody else? Back here, Chris, all these guys. Yes, so you guys are always thinking, oh man, does this look, does it feel good? What's it like? And so the problem, and I wouldn't say problem, the tension to manage that we talk about a lot of times at See.Spark.Go is how do we connect both the CEOs, how do we connect both the CFOs and also the creatives so that we can be unified in what we're doing? And today what I want to do is I want to talk about the lens that we need to look at when we are creating marketing ideas, because it's so critical that this lens can fuel everything that you're doing. Because right now, I could stand up here and we could all probably share some stories like, man, well, what if we did this and we could get this dream session going? And what if we made this incredible video that was just awesome and it drew these people in? Or maybe what if we create these digital ads? Or maybe how's this email campaign? We could talk all about that. But what I want to really lean into today is how does the lens we look through impact the outcome that we're going towards? So today, we're going to talk about that. Then I'm going to give you basically 5 questions. And if you're a CFO, you should ask your marketing team these questions. 5 questions you should be asking your marketing team when they're working with you. And then finally, 1 word that will help you understand, is there a red line going through everything you're working on? So it's really basic, but this basic stuff that we're going to talk about today is what's going to drive you from being a good marketer to an excellent marketer. So that said, let's get started really quick. So when I said, what is marketing? It's funny, I started looking at a bunch of different things across the internet, go back to marketing classes, look at a bunch of just ideas. And one that really resonated with me that I thought was a big change was HubSpot. Everyone knows HubSpot, right? If you're involved in marketing, everyone knows what they are, what they do, how they do it. But here's funny, when I read this is what's unique. It said this: marketing is the process of getting people interested in your company's product or service. That's where a lot of people stop. But they move on. They say this happens through market research, analysis, and understanding your ideal customer's interests. Marketing pertains to all aspects of business, including product development, distribution methods, sales, and advertising. Now then, we're not at the University of Georgia. We're not teaching a class right now, although I do feel like that a little bit because I'm behind here. If I was to go out there and ask that, I bet I could walk around the room and you could tell me what area of this definition you work on in your organization. You could probably share with me, I really specialize in this. Well, the idea behind this is if your organization doesn't have the red line that's going through everything that you're talking about, you're only going to get a fraction of the result you're looking for. We've all seen this. At least I think we have, as most people have seen some sort of funnel like this whenever you're talking to someone who's in marketing, right? And they say, hey, here's what we want to do. We want to talk to the unaware. This is a digital strategy. We want to talk to the unaware. We want to attract them. We want to create awareness. We want to create interest. We want to engage them. And we want to have action to follow. Those are things that whenever you're talking to a marketer, they're in the back of their mind, if you're having a conversation with them, they're trying to figure these things out. What are the best way to make this happen? And at the end, they want to align that with your goals. But by doing that sometimes, you miss out on the entire aspect of the company. And so this is what we're going to focus on today. We're going to flip this upside down a little bit today and focus on where marketing should really start. Now then, every marketer will tell you, don't put you in the position. You don't want to look at you. What do you want? Because that's a horrible situation. I'm going to challenge that belief in a certain area, because what I'm going to go with is I want to take you. So here's what I say with you. If you are just now starting your organization right now, who are you? What are you about? If you're starting your organization. If you work for an organization that's a $100 million company, what are they about? What can they provide? What can they do? And with you, we're going to draw a circle around ourselves, your organization. And we're going to discover what do you want inside that organization to happen when your customer interacts with it. So often we start with the unaware, and I've had so many companies come to me, and I'm going to share a story of one. They come to me and they say, hey, Andy, we want to have XYZ happen, and I start talking to them, and it's all nice and pretty, everything's good, but at the end of the day, they're missing who they are as a brand, and if you miss who you are as a brand, and it is so vital, I've seen this so many times, then you're going to end up going all over the earth trying to figure out who you are and what you're about. So That said, tell you a little about myself before we get into this. I married my best friend in 2007. She's actually in the back here, so you can wave, Brittany. Thank you very much. I was a very lucky man and got married very quickly because I didn't want her to run. And in 2007, we moved to Athens. How many of you guys are from Athens? A lot, not many. Okay, I love Athens, by the way. It's fantastic. Had a child in 2008, had another child in 2010. Figured it out then. Then after that, I showed up here, and this is the highlight of my life, right here, being right here. So I'm just kidding, but no, we're really glad we were here last year, and this is awesome because here's the thing I do know about it. If I go to these conferences all the time and these types of things, and I sit down, and I'm constantly, and I seriously meant when I'm on stage, I would love to hear what other people are teaching because I'm just a sponge. I want to learn more every day so that I can apply it and grow. So if I sat down, I was walking around, I met with each one of you guys. As I was talking to you, I just know that, hey, there's some people out here. There's a young man outside. I don't know if you saw this. He's sitting with his dad, and he's sitting here with Countrywide. And I asked him, I said, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to invent cars. I said, cars? What kind of car do you want to invent? And he said, I want to invent a car that flies. And I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what life's about, and that's what marketing's about. It's about connecting with individuals. My professional journey, just so you know who's up here and talking just a little bit, I graduated from the University of Georgia in 2000. Then in 2000, I said, you know what, I want to change the world. You all remember that? You come out and you're like, hey, let's go get it. So I went to nonprofit work. I had a chance to travel all over the world. It was amazing. It was fantastic. I was starving, but it was fantastic. Not a lot of money there. Started my first nonprofit in 2001 to go along with this. What I loved about this nonprofit work is that because I traveled the world, I learned very quickly, and this is just for me on a personal level, very quickly that people had a relationship with Jesus Christ through the church and not through a relationship. And so I said, hey, how can we change that? How can we change our messaging to get it back to where it's a relationship, not a church? And that changed a lot of things, but I learned very quickly that funding helps nonprofits. So I said, what can we do here? So I started a company in 2005 that failed miserably. I thought, hey, we can go do this. I got a good heartbeat. It's all going to work. We just fell on our face. Didn't work out. I tried it, did everything I knew how to do, and it didn't work. But I learned some valuable lessons, and that it was a game changer. That same process, I was planting a church that is still going today. And I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to be a part of a church plant, but marketing is a ton of it. It is unbelievable because you're trying to say, hey, guys, look over here, especially in the South, because the South got a church on every corner, okay? Let's just be real. So it was everywhere, and we were really learning how to do that. And for me, I was like, well, we got the greatest thing we can actually share. I mean, it's Jesus. Why can't I just share everything about him? It's great. Let's introduce him. So I thought it'd be easy. Very hard, but we learned a lot. From there, at the same time, I started, as you can tell, I'm an entrepreneur. I like to do a lot of things. My wife and I co-founded See.Spark.Go. And this was a game changer for us. And this is something that's really unique as you're in your company and understanding your team. My wife is brilliant when it comes to PR marketing. I realized I am brilliant when it comes to strategy and how to get things together. Did I plan for us to get married and do that? Yes, but not in the sense of what you're thinking. But I did plan some things. I was very strategic with that. That's why I married her fast. That said, when we got married, we had an idea to come here and do some things. We came to Athens, we started our company, and it took off. It was amazing, lots of hard work, just like you guys are doing. During that time, I was still, hey, I want to do more stuff, so I started a company out west. We did our first $1 million in 3 years. It took off. It's still going. We love it. I've got about 30 employees out there. Why do I share that? If you walk through this, you're going to see a very common denominator. And the common denominator through all of this is that red line, okay? The journey I have been on is all about marketing. Nothing about it has changed. I've always been in it. When you have a brand, you're going to have tons of opportunities to do different things within your organization. But if you don't have a common denominator that is following you through everything you're doing, your message, and some of the questions I'm going to ask you guys, then you're going to miss out with everything you're wanting your customer to experience. So for me, if someone experiences and meets me, there's certain things in my head I know I want them to experience. What experience in your company do you want people to ask you when they're around you? So, answering the phone. This is a fun one. I learned this. We're probably 2008, 2009. One of the first customers we're ever working with, clients we're working with. And how many of you guys are working with clients and you're going, man, I cannot wait to do something, so you're pretty eager, right? And you want to do whatever they say. If you're in marketing, big mistake, by the way. You want to do whatever they say. You can tell these guys are in marketing, you know. The client comes and tells you, we got to do this, 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 and this. And you say, yes, 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 yes. That doesn't work always, okay? I said yes to this. I was a yes man at the time. So we are out there. This organization is phenomenal. They are trying to get their KPIs, hit everything. We're like, we can make this happen. So we did digital ads. We did Facebook. We did everything we knew how to do, and everything was working. And I'm talking to the executive director, and he's like, Andy, we're not hitting what we need. We need more people to sign up. Why are we having issues with this? And as we sit there and we're discussing it and trying to figure it out, he says, hold on. And he taught me a huge lesson here. He said, hold on. Let's pick up the phone and see if someone answers when we call. We pick up the phone. We call down to his main office. No answer. I'm like, oh, my gosh. Same thing happens. No answer. Same thing happens. We did it 3 times. No answer. Why is this important? I don't care what marketing you do, what you do. If the people inside your organization don't know why you're doing it, you're going to fail. It's a huge thing. So answering the phone is a small way to remember what you're doing. But if the person who's answering the phone, taking the cell, the person who's in your front line's not there and understanding what's taking place, I don't care what kind of marketing you do. So it starts with you, which is where it leads me next. So as you say that is, how does it start with you? On your team, it's all about leadership. It's all about knowing yourself, leading yourself, and then knowing others and leading others. A dear friend of ours taught us that when we first started getting involved in business. But marketing is the same thing, because you've got to think marketing as an individual. Who are people you like? Think about it for a second. Who are people you like? Who do you enjoy being around? Who do you learn from, glean from? There is a consistency they have and do certain things over and over and over again. That is vital in what we're doing as marketers today. And we have forgotten that because we're actually running across, hey, I want to go try this new Facebook profile. I want to go try TikTok. I want to go do this. I want to do that. When the reality is your team aligned with your brand? Because without a clear brand, without a clear direction where you're going, I don't care what kind of marketing you're doing, because your team is number one. And you've got to always remember that as marketers. It's the number one thing you can do is make sure you have a good team. One of my examples I love to share in this is I was with another business owner. This is actually a couple months ago. And I have an opportunity to meet with these guys. And they are, when you get with a business owner, if you guys know this, like they think at different levels. Now details, they're usually not that good. But what caught me off on something with this business owner is he was telling me a story about an employee he had. And he was saying, yeah, our business is thriving, it's growing, but there was an issue I had with one of my employees. And I was sitting there listening and say, what was it? And he said, well, I went to lunch one day, and while I was in lunch, I saw one of our salesmen eating lunch by himself. How many of you guys know that's one of the no-nos you do in sales? Don't eat lunch by yourself. You got to find somebody you're with every lunch, period, no matter what. So he's in there, and so he's in there talking to him, and the sales guy's just talking about how great things are going, all that. And so he's the owner of the company, having lunch with him, and he says, well, why aren't you out there meeting with people? And he says, oh, well, I'm hitting my quota, I'm doing this. He says, well, I need to ask you a question. And I'll just make up a name. He said, what color eyes does Steve have, the guy who's buying from us? And he says, what color eyes? He said, yeah, at our organization, I want to know what color our customers' eyes are, because if I know what color their eyes are, I know who their kids are. If I know who their kids are, I care about them. I said, I want you to care about every one of our customers more than you care about having lunch. It was a strong, hard statement. Like, I want you to know how important it is, and you invite him to eat with you. He said, the purpose for this and why I say this is that as you look at your marketing, what are you doing to be human? What are you doing to be human in your marketing? If you drive up and down the billboards and you see them, I sometimes just chuckle when I see some stuff, because I'm like, that makes no sense. What are they asking me to do? You know, I really don't know. And so sometimes you've got to really understand we're all human, so how do you have that heart connection when you're looking at it? So here's another thing I like to judge things on, is where does marketing end when you're looking at things? If it starts with you, where does it end? So often say it's the customer. I disagree with that too. I'm just going to be very blunt on this. Marketing ends with your friends' customers, okay? And let me explain how I genuinely believe this. If you're in real estate, Someone's at a dinner table. Can you be at dinner with everybody in this around here right now? No, you cannot go to dinner with everyone, but your customers always are having dinner with their friends. And if there's someone moving into town, who do you want to be the best person talking about your organization? Their friends. So the way you measure success, the KPIs, the CFO a lot of times, is if I'm talking to them, is saying, okay, depending on the market we're in and what we're talking through, is saying, how many other new inquiries are we getting that we can relate back to the individuals who are working for us? What are we looking at? What is that measurable we can measure? Because at the end of the day, we've got to know, and what you're doing, you're creating this, we got to know, are our friends, our customers' friends actually talking about this? Because that's a game changer. When you get that, when this happens, that's that momentum that starts. That is when momentum truly starts. If you ever look at a rocket ship and understand how those things take off, which I have no idea, but I just know they use a lot of fuel in the first 5 minutes. It's almost all out, and then the rest they can just go in. Marketing is the same way. We have people come to us all the time. Hey, I've got a thing next week. Can you please make this happen for us? I'm like, maybe. I don't know how much money you got. Let's dump it in because it's not going to us. This is going to be really hard. But if you have a true strategy and we can get raving fans, that's the game changer. That's the game changer. So let me kind of back it up just a little bit and tell a really cool story that I just love. And it's from a dear friend of mine. And he's actually, I don't want to embarrass him or anything, but he's the president of a bank here in town. And when him and I met a few years ago, he came in, and it was an incredible organization when he walked in this bank. Fantastic bank. But what I saw him do over the course of about maybe 4 years, I'm not really good with the math side of things, but about 4 years, he revolutionized the internal operations of this bank. Not by all the things they're doing external, but internal. And I watched him. I sat on the advisory board with him, and I watched how he operated with his team. I watched the vision he cast. I watched what he was doing, and I remember I just would pick up things. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I love meeting people and learning more and more about them. But I was literally a steward, and I would take notes and watch what he's doing, how's he doing it, and everything he was going back to was the culture of his organization, the culture of his organization. And one day I asked him, hey, why are you doing this? What's going on? And I picked up and he said, hey, we're trying to create remarkable experiences for everyone who walks through the door. You may know the bank if you bank with them. But when that happens, it's a game changer because you'll have people like myself sharing these stories that change everything. And it truly changes how it operates. So that said, as we go through these questions and think through some things and kind of go towards the landing of the plane, what I want to do is this, and this is what I ask you guys is, who are you? If you were to look in the mirror, who are you? Who is your team? What product are you offering? Who is your company? And what services are you doing? How does this operate with what you're trying to do in your marketing plan? Because this is really the game changer in what's happening here. Once you know that, you can then go through these 5 questions that I really want to kind of think through. And I would encourage you to really write these down because, like I said, if you can answer these questions, this is going to really help you with your marketing. When you look at these 2 brands, Nike and Apple, just someone throw this out. What emotion do you feel when you see those logos? Anyone? Excellence. I totally believe excellence is used. Nike, I think of excellence. I see Apple, and I sometimes think, innovation. Winning, exactly, right? So let me ask you this question. If you were to look at your brand right now, and it's just you or your brand, what do you think of? You don't have to answer it out loud, but what do you honestly think of? Okay. Then beside that, the question you'd answer is, what do you want your clients to think of? Because if you don't know that answer, don't start a marketing campaign yet. Because you've got to figure that out. That's super, super important. You've got to figure that out. Because what is that interaction? I remember there was a real estate person I was talking to a few years ago who, and I think it sounds so funny, they used to get chocolate chip cookies and bake them. And they may teach all this, I don't know, but it was amazing. She'd do the candles, she'd do everything, and I'd walk in there, and it was amazing because it was that whole thing. But when I was around her, I just felt this peace. It was just like awesome, and she was phenomenal. She grew her agency. She's not doing it anymore, but it's amazing to see the small little things that make a difference. But for your brand, what emotion are you trying to do? And if you have the lens that you're going to get it all the way through, this is the question you ask is, so when that takes into effect, is what emotion do you want the campaign you're creating make someone feel? And does it align with your brand? I've seen it so many times, if you look at it, it doesn't line up. And that is just sideways energy. What values do you want your team to operate by? Remember the phone example? With the phone, hey, we had this great campaign going, but we weren't even answering the phone. At See.Spark.Go, we've had our 4 values over here. All of us have had an opportunity to experience excellence at Chick-fil-A, right? And we understand how they serve. We understand what they teach, how they do it. This doesn't just happen. But the thing is within your organization, if it's just you or whether you're a team, does your team communicate the same values across the board? Because without values that they're operating by, guess what? Your marketing team's not going to do the same thing. And your marketing team's going to do something else. So if excellence is one of your values and you have a misspelling in something, it's not good, right? If you have a brand that you're trying to communicate an incredible feeling behind, and then someone picks up the phone or doesn't pick up the phone, the values aren't there, it's a game changer. So that's something to really look into. What message do you want to communicate? For us at See.Spark.Go, we use us as an example. We know that what we value the most is our team and our clients and the community that we're serving, okay? So we're constantly saying, what can we push out inside of our social media that is reflecting this? It's super important. If you look at the University of Georgia, this is why I looked at them, I was like, you know what? They started the higher education process. They're strong. They have a great education. It's powerful. But if you were to open up your social media right now and you were to take a look at it and you were to hand it to your friend, remember we want what our friends are saying, what would they say are your values? What would they say are the emotions they experience when they look at your social media? At See.Spark.Go, whenever we're working with a team or a client doing this, we create an entire playbook around this to make sure that we're on brand to saying the same thing. Because remember, that red line is super critical when you're doing your marketing. Because if you don't do this, this is where social media, it goes out of control. It goes completely out of control. And that's where you can, as the marketer, if you're leading your team right now, you can say, hey, no, we don't need to do this. We need to do this. Here's why. Here's what's going on. Here's the emotion we're trying to create around it so that it will get buy-in from those around you. The next one is what do you want your customer experience to be? This is something, I mean, we could all give some really good examples of this. But if you are creating a marketing plan, what is the actual journey you're looking for from an individual who is coming in? So if you are at the top of the funnel, you know your brand, you know what's going on, what journey are you taking them on to connect you with them? We've all been through good ones, right? We've all had great experiences. If you are out there and let's say like you're looking at going to a new university, right? And during COVID, I cannot tell you how many people were calling in saying, hey, could y'all create a campaign to do video work so you could come in and look at our campuses and see things a whole nother way? And we're like, well, what's the brand behind that? What are you trying to communicate? Because the journey of grabbing a student who's looking at all these different universities during that time was super important. But what at the end do you want? Do you want them to come visit? Do you want them? So understanding that journey is so, so important. And how does that line up with you, your brand? Going back to the brand, going back to the brand, going back to you, going back to you. How does that line up? It's so critical in that. Then finally, what outcome do you want for your customer? Okay, so with these 5 questions, what outcome do you want? For instance, how many of you guys have ever, if you're in marketing, how many of you guys have ever been asked, hey, will you please post this because we want this? And you're like, that has nothing to do with, at the end, what you're trying to do. Like, I mean, you're like, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, we can, yes, you're the client, but I'm going to strongly suggest against this. Because at the end of the day, remember, we talked about the playbook, we talked about the values, we talked about where we're going. But if you don't know the outcome, this is going to be a game changer. Right here, if you can simply know what your outcome is, tied into the brand, tied into the emotion, then everything you do puts on the lens of what you're trying to communicate to the customer, if that makes sense. We like to have a lot of fun over at See.Spark.Go too, and one of the things is I'm constantly, and we don't do this right all the time. I'll just be, honestly, we have lots of hiccups. But a lot of times I will go through, and this is funny. We've got about 30 team members, so we're not a real big organization. We're spread out in Nashville, Atlanta, and here. But every once in a while, I'll go in and I'll look at our email signatures. I know this sounds like the smallest thing, right? and I'll look on our email signatures, and I realize that someone has changed it just a little bit. And it ticks me off, okay? Just to be honest with you, it makes me so mad. But it ticks me off. Another thing I'll notice sometimes, if you go to email signature and you click on the iPhone, you can't call them. You ever, I'm talking about the phone numbers, and you're like, what in the world is the issue there? And some of ours do that, so if you try it on ours, I'm so sorry, but I'm fixing that, okay? The point behind this is, when you look in the mirror, the customer journey, the emotions, the brand, when you look at your email, your voicemail, your social media, your website, your brand, is it saying the same thing? I know it sounds very unique when I say that. I'm not saying the same thing as like just a campaign. I'm saying the values of who you are as an organization, is it speaking the same language? I am all about, hey, let's find out how we can use TikTok. I'm all about how we can use social media. I'm all about billboards. I love all that. But is there a campaign that can go back to the same direction? And are we going to the same, are we communicating the same thing? And so what I would charge and challenge you to do is take some of these, look at your current brand, and overline them with what you're currently doing. And you can find real quick some areas you can fix. It's not hard to do this, but just go in there and fix it very quickly. And if you're looking at a brand or yourself or what you want to do, begin to line all these things up. There's a lot of people who do this and help in this area, but that is a huge look in the mirror. Going back to this, for us, understand this. Your culture is the fuel that drives your company. It might just be you at night. It might be 15 team members. It might be 100 team members. But the fuel, your culture is the fuel that drives your company. Let me give you a really unique story that I think explains this in great detail. We had an opportunity to open up Nike Towns across North America. And we were there working with the Nike team, and it was one of the stores in the back, and one of our team members was up there. Brittany and I didn't have a chance to go up there. We were young, and we were taking care of our kids and doing some other things like all of us in this room do, and we had a team member up there. And she went to the back, I remember, we were about to open, and Nike didn't have their act together at the time, like all of us were all scrambling, right? And then, hey, the doors are open, we're great, right? So they're trying to figure out how to do all these things. So she's in the back folding shirts, doing everything they can do. At the very end of that, this particular individual, one of the people lost their cell phone, okay? Horrible situation, right? We know that. Well, this young lady goes back and starts looking through the garbage for her cell phone. Would I ever ask her to do that? No. Never, ever, ever do that. But I got a phone call. We got a phone call regarding that because the type of culture we were trying to create in our company was we're going to outserve those around us. She was doing that. Some people say, that's crazy. It's not. That's how you build a company. I'm just going to be up front. You have to go over and over and above. And we did that, and we were able to keep that. We kept with Nike for almost 8 years until that team moved over to Columbia, and we ended up working with Columbia. Why do I share that? Because I was not there, Brittany was not there, but our culture was instilled in the values of the people that were working for us. So when you're creating a marketing ploy or you're creating a campaign or creating whatever it may be, understand that at the end of the day, the timelines that you're going to be hitting and what you're doing, you're going to fail or succeed based on the culture inside that organization. And so whenever I'm talking to this, you've got to make sure that organization is lined up with that marketing that you're working with. So for your personal business, truly understand that, because this right here is so critical. I cannot tell you how critical this is. So culture plus strategy equals results. I love saying this at See.Spark.Go. We talk about this sometimes. And what I mean is our culture plus the strategy we put together is going to equal a positive result. It's going to make things happen. You can't just have one of them. We have great culture. We're just going to be friends. If we just have strategy, we're not going to be friends. We may get some results, but at the end of the day, it's just another transaction. It's not a big thing, but in life, it's a horrible thing because remember, we're people, we're marketers, and we want to connect with one another. So results are huge. As you're working with your team, and you look at individuals, this is a formula I use all the time, and if our team members were here, they would see it, because when you first get hired by See.Spark.Go, we sit down and we show this formula. Is there any math majors in here, by chance? I wouldn't think there would be. No? Okay. All right, here's the deal. It's not a real math equation. I learned this in ministry, so just bear with me a little bit. But I remember this guy showed this to me, and he said, what is R squared over time equals a positive or negative change? Positive or negative result. So a question to ask your team is this: How does the relationships and results that you are creating with your marketing campaigns changing the market around you? You cannot do marketing and have I'm just not going to do anything, I'm just going to stay there. You've got to try some things, yes, but is it a positive result or is it a negative result? The interactions we have every day are going to be positive or they're going to be negative. Which result are you facing? So when you call your financial planner, you were talking to your financial planner, they're going to have a positive impact or a negative impact in the way they answer the phone, the way they call you back, or what they do, how they do it. When you call your life insurance broker, they're going to do the same thing. When you talk to your real estate, there's no middle ground. It's the same with marketing. When you have that red line, when you have that red line, your team, your ads, what you're creating, your ads that you are creating, you've got to pause long enough. And trust me, in this world, it's like, what can you do for me yesterday? But you've got to pause long enough to say, how does this hit me? Is it being positive? Is it being negative? And what outcome are we creating through that? Your team, and your message. This is the final part of it. How do you measure everything through this? Clarity. Once you know your values, once you know what your brand is, once you can ask those 4 things, are you clearly saying what you want to say? Okay? And what I mean by that, it doesn't have to be clear, and the action has to be clear with the brand and the values. Is everything you're doing, and is everything lined up? You can have your team and the message correct. You can have you and the message correct. But in order to be clear, you have to have you, your team, and your message all saying the same thing. And it's not always by words. It's not always by words, okay? But when you do this, it will absolutely change the way you are doing marketing. And the neat thing about this is next time you go and you assign an intern, and I'm sure this happens, assign an intern to do your Facebook ads or an intern to do a radio copy or assign something, you won't go to them and just say, hey, can you run this? You're going to sit back and you're going to pause and you're going to say, okay, what are we truly doing? And is this impacting everything we are? I own a retail store as well, and I remember learned a very valuable lesson too. It's funny, I teach some of this, and we ran a campaign, and sure enough, people were coming in the door. It was great. But I forgot to tell my manager what we're doing. Big mistake, right? Because they're coming in the door. I get this phone call. My manager calls me and is like, hey, Andy, we're offering this and this. Is this true? After the 3rd person. So I create a horrible experience with 3 customers that'll probably not come back in the store because they're like, well, you're advertising this. First of all, that's very dangerous to do, so I'll never do that, okay? But I was too fast. I didn't slow down to make sure that this process was working, that yes, it was an idea. Yes, it was about the brand. Yes, the message was great, but I never told my team. I never told my team how to buy into what we're doing and how we're doing it. So when you're doing these things, just remember how critical those things are. Clarity creates trust. Your brand, your campaigns, and every interaction you have is marketing. Going back to the top of this, everything we do is marketing. The way you interact with someone, the way you look them in the eye, the way that you make them feel online, the way you send an email, everything you do is marketing. And don't forget that. I tell my team that all the time. Like, hey, if you can go that extra mile, if you can say something, if you can be the Chick-fil-A and carry the umbrella out, it makes a difference. You know, it makes a difference, everything we do. But at the end of the day, if every campaign you think of, if you can run it through the lens of you and what the customer's going to say about you, if you can ask the 5 questions, what emotion do you want to be known for? What values do you want to operate by? What message do you want to communicate? What journey do you want to create? And what outcome do you desire? If you can do this, and it's clear, every campaign that you create, and I really do believe this, every campaign you create, if you have a good service or product, is going to attract the right people. And by doing this over time and consistency, over and over and over again, and the key word consistency, how many of you guys have been said, oh yeah, we have a budget of $100, and can you please run it for 1 week? And the first thing in your head is, oh gosh, don't waste your money, please. Like you've got to understand that because it's not tying in the bigger thing. But if you can do that, it really, really, it creates incredible campaigns. And that's what's so exciting. Right now with the internet and everything we're doing, there's so many things you can do. But the first thing I challenge you to, if you're not here yet, is finding an incredible organization that you can find out what your brand is about. Get that brand solid. Run that through. There's people in this room I know that would be happy to help you. Matter of fact, it's not our organization. We don't do that. We don't work on brands. Just to make it we work with brands. So make it very clear. But if you want me to connect you with, this is my email address. I'll be happy to connect you with them. But at the same time too, and this is another one. Everybody, whenever you're doing a campaign, do it with enthusiasm. I don't mean do it where like, hey, I'm in your face. I'm saying be passionate about what you're doing. Your CFO, your CEO, your president, they're going to pick up on that. And if you're contagious, it will become contagious. And so I'm going to end it with this before I have some questions. I'm going to end it with this. I hope everyone gets fired up because this is a great day. This has been fun. I'm sorry I was stuck behind here much before walking around, but I'm going to kind of end it here. But does anybody have any questions? And I'll be happy to walk around from there. But if there's anything we do, we're here for you. So I'll open up the floor for questions if anybody has any. This is great. Is anybody running some campaigns right now that like you feel what I said is true in this fact that, hey, yeah, we're online, or you're like, no, I'm not online. You don't have to say the name of your company, but no, we're not online. How would you recommend us getting back online? Anything like that? Anybody have situations like that? Well, this is great. There's no questions. Is anybody doing anything fun this weekend? No? Yes, please.
I'm sure no one else is, but we're looking to hire additional people.
Yes.
I'm sure we're wrong there, but if you were looking to create a campaign to attract the kind of person you wanted, we are, we've nailed it down we know exactly what we're looking for. We know pretty much where to reach them. Is there something specific you might do differently, perhaps, when you're marketing to attract people who want to work for you rather than people who want to hire you?
Oh, the same process? Yes, that's a great question, and I'm sure we're all in the same boat. We're in the same boat right now, just so you know. So, like, we're trying to hire great people. We're hiring. He's hiring as well. So are they. So let us all know. We're always looking for great people. So a couple of things that we have done. We've actually had to really. We hired 2 consultants last year to come into our organization to help us in this specific area because, yes, we can market, but we wanted someone to really uncover who we were. So the first thing what we did is when we hired the consultant was to look at our DNA as an organization, who we are, what we're about, and to figure out, help us define pillars of who we are as an organization. Then what we did from that is we then created job descriptions around it and then identified, just being very critical, we identified different areas of the sector that we want to attract those individuals. So whether it's universities, whether it's the individuals working in, we know that people who have agency life in our particular situation, they can adapt more quickly to serve our clients faster. So we understood, hey, we need to go after agencies. So for us, it was about going back to that key question, who we were. So identifying what values are we looking for in those individuals, and then what other organizations out there we know have similar values in what we're doing, and then knock on their doors to see if they're interested in maybe moving over. But those are some things we do. Then we built campaigns to track some of that. So that's and one of our headhunters, she's been doing this now for a phenomenal. I'm happy to give you her number, but she's fantastic. So but working with our team doing it. So I hope that answers a little bit. Yeah. Any other questions? Man, this is awesome. Okay, great. So, well, hey, I really appreciate today. It means a lot that y'all come in here. I'm real humbled to be here. I cannot wait to hear from you guys probably next year. Some of y'all will be up here. If we can do anything to serve you guys, let me know. But I do hope that the Dogs win this weekend and we have a wonderful weekend. Y'all are dismissed. Thanks, guys.